which you guys can do.
Was that the original?
If you want to make it, go for it. It's mostly optional for people who like want to become but since you guys are really
Like sold all those properties, right?
I finally got a reporter's attention on I tweet as much as I tweet about Hat Night. This is what gets the reporter's attention.
I mean, haven't had any lack of like.
I know.
We've been right on all sorts of channels and stuff.
So is your ED I don't think so. I'm not. I don't know actually. We had a lot of
Thanks. Okay. Shall we?
Yes, check the food section.
Alright, let's do this thing, right? Press the button. Alright, I think we're going to get started. Welcome everybody to the Open Gov Hack Night. Woo! This is our, how do we say it? Sesquicentennial event, 150 right here. We've been doing this for a while. I lost track of when like 3 years was. It maybe already happened, so we'll just go with the round numbers from now on. So we'll see, like at 200 will be the next big one. So there's no cake this time, but that's okay. We have pizza. So hey, welcome everybody to the Open Gov Hack Night. This is Chicago's place to build, share, and learn about civic tech. It's also election night. Did everybody vote? Everybody? Come on, raise your hand if you voted. Yay for those who voted. Yay, democracy. Sorry, why didn't you guys, why the rest of you, why didn't you vote?
I don't live in the city.
Don't live in the city, that's a fair excuse.
I would vote.
Yeah. What was your reason?
I went here instead of voting.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, like, you could have done
Polls are still
both.
open for another 25 minutes.
If you want to go vote and come back, that's totally cool. I'm fine with it.
It'll be over by then.
He's been here for 3 weeks, didn't really vote.
Yeah. Well, so anyways, we're going to be watching the election results as they come in. I think the polls closed about 35 minutes, so we'll be looking at that. But in the meantime, we have an awesome presentation from the Illinois Sentencing and Policy Advisory Council. We're going to hear from Nate and Mystic in a little bit. But before we do that, we like to go around and do introductions, so everybody in the room gets to know each other. And then we'll have an open floor for announcements. So anybody can share anything they'd like with the group. And then we'll have a presentation, and then we'll go off and break out groups and work on stuff. So I'll go ahead and kick off the introductions. I'll start. I'm Derek Uter. I'm a open data web developer, partner and founder at Datamade, and I like to make stuff with open data.
Hi, my name is Christopher Whitaker. I'm a consultant at the Smart Chicago Collaborative and the Midwest Brigade Coordinator for Code for America.
You want to go? Oh, you want to say Steve?
This is Steve Lurker, and he is a developer.
I'm Randy, I'm old.
Here we'll go.
Nadine Ostenfeld from SPAC.
Mystic Miller, also from SPAC.
Leon Gersling from Dev Bootcamp.
Oh, Stephen Vance, transportation reporter, District Blog Chicago. We relaunch tomorrow. Thank you for your donation.
Hey, all right, that happened. We like you. We really like you.
Hi, I'm George. I'm a marketing analyst and I work in advertising.
Hi, I'm Forrest. I'm a partner at Hidden.
I'm Josh, I'm an open data developer, and I work with Cook County government on open data.
My name is Nate Pasha. My name is Mike. I'm a developer and interested in open data.
Guillermo, working on transportation.
I'm David, just moved here to the city of Chicago, and then I basically work as a data analyst for. Yeah.
I'm Danielle Roble. I work with a small environmental startup and we collect pollution and store it in archives.
I'm Jamil, I'm an investment advisor at LCM Capital. I'm a software developer.
I'm Kashyap, I'm a graduate student at Freelance Institute of Technology.
I'm Carl Fogel, partner at Open Tech Strategies.
I'm Jaya, I'm a student at the University of Chicago.
I'm Shannon Harwick, I'm a grad student at USC.
I'm Lucas, I work on federal education policy.
I'm John, I'm a chemistry at the show.
I'm Kevin. I'm probably going to work on the kitchen. Steve, I'm a developer at TLXI, analytics practice lead.
I'm John, I'm a strategist at HedgeCorner.
I'm Olivia, I'm a software developer.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Sabia, I'm a graduate student at the University of Technology.
Hi, I'm Nitesh, I'm a computer science graduate student at IIT. Hi, I'm Aditya, I'm a master student at IIT. I'm a master student at IIT. I am James, I'm at IIT in marketing and
I'm Mo, I'm a psychologist of training at the Illinois School of Professional Psychology.
James, I'm a Steve Vance enthusiast.
Are we all?
I don't know about that. I'm Elena and I do analytics stuff.
Hi, I'm William. I'm an alcoholic. Software freelancer.
I'm Mark, I work with criminal reentry.
I'm Jennifer, I'm a developer.
I'm Craig, I'm a graduate student
I'm Matthew, I'm a web developer.
I'm Diego, I'm a software developer. Jim, investment research analyst. David, retired attorney, executive director of the Illinois Campaign for Political Reform.
I'm consumer non-culture.
I'm Angela, I'm trying to learn iOS development.
My name is Eileen, and I'm a paralegal and civil legal aid.
And I'm Quentin, I'm an analyst, Chicago office.
My name is Jesse, I'm a student at the College of Computation.
I'm Benjamin Scher, and I work in various aspects of civic media.
Matt Swing and research at USC Institute of Policy.
Hello, my name is Lincoln Chandler, I'm a consultancy and operations and analytics.
I am Neil, I'm an engineer and analyst at.
Hi, I'm Alex, I'm a Go for America developer.
I'm Jackson, I'm a software developer.
And Wilhelm, I'm a web developer and leading the breakout group for Echo.
I'm Linda, I'm a founder of Chicago, under street signs, days, and other developers.
I'm Alex, I'm a software engineer, and I think at this point, I'm code racing.
Do you miss anybody? Miss any Pedro?
Sure. Pedro, I'm a software engineer here at Braintree. I'm helping to host this event tonight. If you have any questions about anything here, let me know. Please feel free to take soft drinks, not the food in the fridge. So soft drinks, go ahead, however you want.
Awesome, great. All right, thanks everybody for doing that. It's always an awesome group to hear about everybody. So we'll move on to announcements. Open floor for that. I think we got one from Dev Bootcamp. So I'd like to welcome them because they are our latest recurring sponsor. So welcome aboard Dev Bootcamp. Thanks for the pizza.
I just want to let you guys know I'm Leon. I'm the instructor, full-time instructor over at Dev Boot Camp. It's a 9-week, total 19, but 9-week intensive program for taking anyone that wants to learn how to develop, be a web developer, straight from not knowing anything to hopefully land your first job right out of school. So if there's any interest or anybody wants to talk about it or anything development in general, come chat with me. I'll be around.
Awesome. Okay.
Thanks, y'all.
Carl.
This is the place where work job announcements.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're looking for a contract Django developer. If anyone here consider themselves Django eligible, please send it.
Cool.
I'll send it once.
Anybody else? Announcements? Yeah, Randy.
Yeah, okay. Oh, ouch. Like I said, I'm Randy, I'm old. This is Steve Luker. Steve and I have been playing around with an idea that was presented here last year during the CNT process of having a map of at least the loop for every street level accessible entrance. And we've gone through MOPD, and Nokia apparently is playing around with the idea as well. But that Nokia is not going to be open, so you guys, what we'd like to do is, if anybody's interested in playing around in that area of MapTime Chai and OpenStreetMap and getting maps together and getting the data off the portal and different places for doing that, we will decide. I will stand up again at the time that we have groups.
Yeah,
we
breakout groups, yeah.
haven't decided to be a group yet, but
you'll let it percolate.
So
yeah.
tonight we would just like to percolate a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's percolating right now. Excellent. Thanks, Randy. Josh.
If you go to Cook County's data portal,
yeah,
we've got 2 data set updates. One kind of new. So the one at the top there, parcels 2013. So this is all the parcels in Cook County, all the property boundaries for tax year 2013. So that's that was released last week. And then
sorry, I got lost in the data.
Fun. If you Google or search.
They like to use that.
Recorder of foreclosures.
Foreclosures?
Yeah. Let's see.
See what comes up. This one? No. 2013.
The one, yeah, till March 27th. No, not the data set, not the.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
This one right here?
Yeah.
No, that's Quickland deeds. That's right.
Yeah, that's all.
Same thing.
Yeah. So this is recorder of deeds data, mortgages, foreclosures, and quitclaim deeds. The data set now has began 2013 through March 27th. And yeah, at this point, this data set is updated quarterly. Yeah.
Is that 6? Is that
Yes.
billion?
There could be something wrong.
That's a lot. They're all worth about 4 billion. There you go. Wow. Some interesting things in this data. I sorted by amount.
So the market is we know whether it's the first or the second mortgage on the property?
I mean, it's not going to say specifically one like field, but if you I guess. I mean, we don't. This data set only is to 2013, and then there's another older data set that's in a couple years, but overall, it's going to be able to.
Okay.
Cool.
That's very cool.
It's interesting. Very interesting data. Cool. Other announcements?
The DB Data Challenge is going on right now for about the next 5 hours. That was actually announced here about a month ago. It's a competition to visualize a couple million anonymized scripts on big device. I'm not going to do this out loud. The thing I want to tell you guys to do is go. You've got until midnight. And there's a link on this page, I think, to the site where you can actually vote for finalists. And
it's on the red eye, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So somewhere off of this page, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Each of the 4 categories.
Each of the 4 categories. Cool.
Which one should we vote for?
Yeah, which one should we vote for?
Under most beautiful, vote for Mike Joyce.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
Shameless self-promotion.
All right. Well, if you guys Google Divi data challenge, you'll get to this page. Matthew Shaxton back again. He's a Hack Night presenter. This guy. This is the one. This is the most beautiful one. Wow. Guys, ooh.
Or even if he's not, this is interesting too.
So this is like just playing back the trips, kind of. Sorry, I'm standing up.
Basically, you should check them all out though. There are a lot of really interesting things involved. Everything in every category is interesting. I've learned a lot from the other entries.
Kind of mesmerizing. Cool. Awesome. Other announcements? That's yours?
Yeah, in that one section, John Savage. That's shameless promotion.
This one right here. This one? It'll be good. I'm not gonna read all your text. Okay. So correlated, is that what you're saying? Cool. Thanks. Other announcements? Okay, great. Well, then I suppose we'll move on to our feature presentation. So Nate and Mystic, let's hear all about the SPAC.
Yeah. So we have 20 minutes to go through this before election results start. So I asked to just present a little bit about to you all. We are a state agency designated to analyze criminal justice data statewide to advise the General Assembly and the governor on how the system is working and inform them of what would happen when policies would change. So both legislation, so if we change cannabis thresholds for what's a felony to we raise the felony or lower the felony levels, what happens to the rest of the system and how much will that cost? Kind of very important basic questions that haven't been asked before. So what we do is we dig into the data, state criminal justice data to try to answer those questions. And so I kind of feel like we're a useful resource for understanding criminal justice data, and also we can be a resource for any of you who do criminal justice work with open data. Chicago has a great data portal on criminal justice data. When that gets analyzed and put together, we, the SPAC team, there's 4 of us who, 2 are in Springfield, and then Mystic and I are up here in Chicago to do the analysis. So we often condense research and then distribute that information down to our Springfield office, who then go immediately to the governor's office, go to the legislature, and share that information fairly quickly. So in some ways, like, we are a good public access point to sharing information and research. And there's 4 of us, so we try to be very accessible. So anything that you guys find interesting or think that the legislature should be aware of, that's important for us to know because there's only so much information we can find on our own. So I was hoping to present to you all and kind of share some of our projects as just a way of opening the dialogue between us and you all. So yeah, the SPAC board, we are a government agency. We actually are fairly independent. So like when the governor changed, no one on our team changed. So we have a board of 24 different legislators, prosecutors, public defenders, police, sheriff, all the different criminal justice stakeholders are on our board, and they're designated by the by our statute, so they don't change when the governor changes. Kind of Mystic put together a presentation. This is kind of just an open dialogue to kind of explain what we do and how we analyze the criminal justice data in the state. So feel free to jump in with questions, or if I'm bouncing around too much or not enough, or if you have burning criminal justice questions that data can answer, then those are the sorts of questions that like we want to hear and talk about and discuss. And we spend a lot of time in our day doing that. So if I speak in acronyms or speak too quickly, let's clarify those. So SPAC, the Illinois Sentencing Policy Advisory Council. I wish it were a different acronym, but it's government. What can you do? Real quickly, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what agencies are, and then kind of walk through like what the criminal justice system actually is and where the data come from, and then talk about the data, things that excite us, data people, and then how we've analyzed it in the past. So that's kind of big picture. SPAC, you guys should definitely know about. We will hand out our information if you want to contact us, or we want to be very accessible. ICEJA is the Illinois
and
second? What about just the average guy? If you guys have epiphanies like that, like, you know what we need that will help explain this stuff, like, email me. Like, this is the brainstorming that helps. Question?
I'm just curious, do you have the average dollar amount of these retail funds?
No, because it's not collected in the state database.
Okay.
We reached out to the national insurance, whatever, and they just stopped returning my emails after that. But you know, that's insurance claims. Like, how many people actually filed an insurance claim? Like, that's still not the actual information that we want to find. We also use the National Incident-Based Reporting System, which is a more detailed criminal justice reporting that's voluntary. Only Rockford reports into it. So we're not going to base Illinois policy off of Rockford. So we use the national information. I don't know offhand what the average retail theft, but you could use NIBRS to find that.
CBD reports like that's 500 and under,
Yep.
500 over, like that's about as great.
And that's because that's how the statute is written. And so, like, that's how our data is collected, because the legislator wrote the statute like that, which doesn't make sense for a data analysis standpoint.
When you answered the man's question that the data is not yours,
yeah,
how much of it so Tom Dart gives you data?
I have not received any Tom Dart.
Okay, no Tom Dart data.
I do get an email from his office on the daily.
You had a blog for jails.
Yeah.
What kind of data do you get from the jail?
Before I started, they did a survey of 12 jails of how much it costs to house people in those 12, which is actually very interesting data. You found that what they called the marginal cost, and I don't know if this is accurate, was about $16,000 per year to house someone in jail. Statewide, average weighted by population.
But it's public or private detention rooms?
Illinois only has public.
So
Also, just to clarify,
you're getting metadata from the jails and
Yeah.
from the prisons?
assuming that their analyses were correct.
Okay.
The best we can do right now.
All right, you're not actually getting the data.
Yes.
You're getting their reporting of how they've interpreted the data.
For the local information, that's unfortunately the best we can do right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Question?
Do you have any statistics that pertain to how much jail theft costs the state?
We're working on it, because that's a really interesting question, right? And that's different between what type of offender, like, is it a felony or a misdemeanor? Is it someone sentenced to prison or probation? Like, those are very different cohorts. You know, there's a lot of scholarship out there that says that prison might have a harmful effect on recidivism. So just simply by being sentenced, the same person might have a higher rate of recidivism. So, I mean, there's lots of interesting research out there that we'd like to incorporate in how we talk about this stuff. Let's see. Oh, our future projects, and then we'll just, you know, be willing to break out or continue conversation, check the election results. Some of the things that we're working on that I'd actually really appreciate your guys' feedback on. We're trying to work on a population projection. It's one of the things that we're mandated to do, that we have like a rough model set up, and I'm happy to show you guys afterwards what that looks like. It's incredibly simplistic, which is helpful for explaining to the legislators, but is that good enough? I don't know. Like, I'm not necessarily the best person to do a projection or prediction or forecasting. We're also working on cost benefit analysis, and this is where I have a little bit more forte to answer those sorts of questions, like what are the costs and benefits total system-wide to the taxpayer, using broad metadata reported the best that we can do. And then we can use that sort of cost benefit to start saying, should we be investing in education in prisons or cognitive behavioral therapy or some sort of like treatment in prisons? Which of those is more likely to reduce recidivism and better spend public resources? Budgets are probably going to shrink, so they're probably going to want to know, if I can only keep 3 of 5 programs, which ones can I do? If I want to add a 6th, which one should I add? These are questions that we'd like to help provide some evidence-based answer to, rather than just letting whichever advocate or lobbyist is better connected. Like, that's not an effective way to run the criminal justice system. In SPAC's opinion, that's an official opinion. Other questions?
You also partner, apart from providing information to lawmakers, you partner with academic institutions such as the Crime Lab for University of Chicago to assist them in the experimental research to use it.
I'm currently working with a University of Chicago econ prof on cluster analysis. So like, we're open for partnerships. They're difficult to do, but I'm happy to, you know, we're 4 people, so like how we work through the bureaucratic system is sometimes tough. At the same time, it's like, especially if it's a useful project, we'll devote as much resources as we can to try to bring new useful information to the policymakers. Other questions?
So you talk about cost benefit analysis. So it seems like you come up with a lot of costs, but what does the benefit side look like?
Benefits are reduced victimizations and reduce system costs. The model that we use is based on a 2010 study of jury awards that accompanied criminal trials. So is that perfect? I don't know, but we have to have some willingness to pay to avoid a murder, to avoid an assault. And other states have started using this study, and it actually is a fairly creative and, you know, well-reviewed study. So, and that one's open to debate and discussion too.
The way I see the reports or the analysis that you make is essentially like answering questions like, what's the average age of this crime, and that how much actually that impacts on the budget, or how much that actually, those kind of questions. Am I correct? Roughly speaking, like it's just like with all the big like diagram that you have there, there's a lot of intricate parts. But essentially, that's the type of
I mean,
of analysis that they're making, depending on the information they're able to get their hands on, right?
So like, the legislators have been good at asking follow-up questions. I'm not sure they know what questions they want to ask. So like the basic, like we spend most of our time answering questions. How many people are arrested for, what's a goofy one that we just did?
Oh, aggravated driving while using electronic device.
Yeah, they want to know how many of those happened in the last 3 years.
How many ended in a conviction, how many ended in probation, things like that.
But that, I mean,
And so that's
my question is, if it's that, the answer, like that's usually the analysis that you make. Have you thought about doing the kind of the reverse model? What I'm trying to ask is, you already have the data, and you use essentially all the input goes along, and then where's the amount of people that actually gets from this point to this point, roughly speaking. But if you picture that as like a flow from the criminal system, have you thought about to make like a computer model or something about that system, and you just tweak like a simulation type of thing? So you can tweak it just like on the computer, and see how that actually will really affect, and that will be more the impact that you're trying to forecast will be this impact.
I think that's what the legislature would like. So like, those are the sorts of questions we'd like to get to. And like, that's this, the problem is like, it's super complex, and like, it's really like, that simple answer is some, like every new statute we look at, like there's a new complication. Like the data isn't good after 2012. Why not? Like we have to dig in and like figure out why. But like, that's the, like, that's the simple question that the legislator would like to know and be able to tweak and play with. Other question?
Is there a sister organization or another policy group that focuses on criminal or, excuse me, civil or corporate crime?
No, but that's really interesting. One of the first bills that SPAC analyzed before I got there was RICO statute. What does RICO even stand for? Racketeering, something, conspiracy, but like it was a white collar proposal. So I mean, like when those come up, we try to analyze them. There's very few white collar folks in state prisons, so it usually is a pretty small impact.
Except for our governors.
Federal. This is, so the Illinois Information Justice Information Authority, their research page. They have some actually pretty cool data and downloadable data sets, state level, including, let's open this one up.
What's it called here?
ICJIA. ICJIA, Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority. People know them by the authority, which is terrifying. But I don't work there, it's okay. But yes, they have like a lot of different county jail average daily populations. So this is ICJIA stuff that I access. I don't like to call them an authority, I call them ICJIA. Some people call them CJIA. So there's that data. They also have some visualization tools that are already put together. The single map analysis tool lets you play with all kinds of UCR offenses by county, and like, you know, you can click on things and they show up on these things.
And UCR is Uniform Crime Report.
Is that FBI?
It's FBI standards. One thing that we've found, and Mystic has been doing a lot of this work, is there's a lot of these like summary, like you don't want to just know about the aggravated DUI while texting. You want to know about DUIs, or you want to know about assaults, like not all of the little sub assault categories. At the same time, the only thing you can tweak are those sub little layers. So like the violent, non-violent is actually, it blows my mind how big of an issue that is. Each county seems to be defining that slightly differently. We just found last week, there's a different statute for crime of violence versus a violent crime that specifically labels different statutes differently. ICJIA has their own list of statutes and codes that match to violent versus Department of Corrections.
The state's attorney has another.
So all of these definitions are, be skeptical as you review any criminal justice data, because someone analyzed all the Illinois, we have 6,000, 7,000 different crimes that in our database that we've tried to classify. Everyone has their own how they classify them. So there's this. I also want to quick show the criminal history and recidivism information. This tool is totally worth playing around with because it has a ridiculous amount of information on the back end that goes into just an easily accessible. So let's say we wanted to look at prison exits. We want to see recidivism, and we were going to limit it to 3 years recidivism, which is the usually reported Illinois data. And so then it populates, let's see, this is the number that's normally repeated. Recidivism, who's returned to prison within 3 years from that 2004 to 2006 cohort of exits from Department of Corrections. So there's all kinds of actually pretty interesting data that's back here. I'm happy to answer questions about what it's actually doing, or connect you directly with the programmer who made it, because he's fantastic at answering questions too. Let's see, one second. Oh, There we go.
Oh, yeah.
That, I'm not saying anything. More questions?
So this is, I guess, more of an ideology question, but it seems right now lawmakers are interested in your research because of budget crunches. And however, what happens if we have now increased budget space for penitentiaries and for the corrections? What kind of role then do you play in that space where budget issues aren't really a problem?
We are supposed to look primarily at the financial stuff. I also think that the financial stuff is only one small part of the criminal justice system, obviously. I mean, you ask the average Joe on the street, like, what's the point of sending someone to prison? Like, they're probably not gonna say rehabilitation. They're probably gonna say because they did something bad. So like, what's the, how much are we willing to pay to punish someone who rapes a small girl? Like, that's a question where there's simply not a fiscal answer. So I think that there's limits to what SPAC can reasonably do, but like, we're gonna try to provide as much information as possible to answer the parts that there should be fiscal answers for. I mean, we should be able to know the cost of jails off the top of our heads. Like, we spend a lot of money on it. Law enforcement, we spend more on law enforcement than we do on Department of Corrections. We should be able to know that number off the top of our heads, but we don't because no one's asked that question quite in the way that's put it together yet. Other question in the back.
Have you looked at immigration detention and ICE holds?
Good question. We did look for the governor actually asked about immigration detentions, and what was the number? It was
Which governor?
The new one, actually. I think probably because of financial considerations, he was like, I want them out of my prisons. Release them to the street, wherever, I don't care, just get them out of prison so we don't have to pay for them. I think, I only heard, tell me how many people are in DOC for immigration issues, and we've found fairly few people, to the best of our ability. But the other question you had about, immigration, that's a federal issue, so I think that there's a lot of very interesting policy issues, but you'll find them more often in federal prisons or federal detention facilities. Or maybe county, I don't know. You look confused or angry at my responses.
No, not confused.
Or do you have more information that I should know about?
Well, I'm just curious because, so of course, yes, immigration is a federal issue, but
Yeah.
what happens when people are convicted under state law, for example, is that they're serving the sentence under state law, because under state law, the immigration issue is contemporary, yes, they're concurrent with that sentence.
Yeah.
But that's a huge issue nationally in terms of
Yeah.
where those folks are being housed and where the funding is coming from, and often they're not a danger to society.
Right.
So in my personal opinion, it's quite a poor allocation of resources. So that's why I'm just curious how the issues playing out locally.
Yeah.
And the second question I have is, and this may be beyond your purview.
Yeah.
Is looking at the sort of public-private partnership issue in the prison system, and where can you direct me to a source where I can learn more about what those fiscal calculations come out of?
The ACLU has been very active in that sort of thing. The John Howard Association, I have to give them a big shout out because they do a lot of really good prison information gathering. What other?
Well, in terms of private prisons, there's no, we said earlier, there's no private prisons in Illinois, there won't be in their moratorium.
I think that John Howard actually helped pass this of prohibiting private prisons. One thing that is worth considering that I'm interested in, especially as the current governor is pushing towards more public-private partnerships, is private probation.
GEO Group has 2 private probation programs in Illinois right now.
So
They're one of the big private prison groups. Private probation.
that's an interesting issue that I think is more question. Keep going.
Maybe we can last one and then we'll.
Yeah. Or we have one more question from a new person. Go for it. Yeah.
You said again that you were interested in consumer reports about prison programs.
Yeah.
And I was just curious, how is your plan to, what is your plan to get the reports from the consumers of those? Who are the consumers?
Yeah. What I mean by that is producing the consumer report, like how much does it cost to pay for secondary education in prisons, and what are the outcomes that we get, and report that in a consumer report format. So here's the cost per person, here's the benefit per person. And hopefully we're only paying for programs that produce benefits that are greater than costs. Iowa recently just did this and found that they were paying for a domestic violence treatment program that was shown to increase recidivism. So it was actually not cost effective. And so like they stopped funding that one. I feel like Illinois is a ways away from figuring out that sort of information, but we're hoping to start. I mean, we need to do that for our system too.
If you go to that consumer report level though, aren't you making recommendations and then?
I'm just reporting information just like consumer reports.
And that's why they get the advertising.
Is that right? Yeah.
We are permitted from presenting other information. Like if there's research that indicates a program is terrible, but a legislator here wants to fund that program, we can point out that research to them. So even though we're not making a recommendation, we can say, well, all the research indicates this is a terrible, terrible choice.
Yeah, and the legislature can choose to ignore us. I mean, we're not binding, we're not, you know, they can, there's politics, you know, like that, this is just one piece of the information. So like this is the sort of consumer report that Washington State has done that we're trying to model our stuff on. It's like if you paid for electronic monitoring on probation, research shows that, you know, all of these different pieces play out, and you can try to analyze whether you want, as a legislator, you want to pay for that sort of program. And if you want to rank them, which one do you want to pay for first? These are basic questions that government should know about. I'm happy to discuss all this stuff further, obviously. So thanks so much for inviting us.
Awesome. You guys can you're going to stick around and you want to, so yeah, so like there's a lot of interested in this topic. So you guys can stick around and continue that discussion. Now we're going to move on to the